What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Raw and Relentless. Had Bill Key on the episode this week, and we had a really good conversation. What I really liked about this episode was Bill was extremely vulnerable with dealing with his depression and adversity in starting off his business, and diving into what it took to try and push through that and work through that. So I really appreciate Bill for being so raw in this episode. So look forward to you hearing what you guys think, and enjoy the episode. Bill, thanks for coming on, buddy. I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me. So can you give the audience a little background about yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bo. So a little bit background on myself. I am currently an engineering manager working for a FinTech company in the SF San Francisco Bay Area. My team is the cloud infrastructure team. So we are currently focusing on making our infrastructure native for the cloud. The past year and a half or so, we were migrating all of our data center to the cloud. So we
Mhm.
just completed that big project in June. Now the next step is making everything native to the cloud so that we can scale and take advantage of the cloud capabilities. So setting the foundation this year, and then next year, when we stand up a new environment for our app, instead of taking months, it will take us. We're aiming. Our goal is to do it in a couple weeks instead of months. So
And
that's
what's the app?
our app is helps small businesses, small medium business, they for accounts payable, accounts receivable, and then we also have the other side of spend and expense. So when reimbursements, when you're
Mm.
buying stuff, right, and then you know how you have to track receipts and things like that.
Hmm.
So that's all automated in a sense where you can create virtual credit cards,
Mm.
so you could dedicate a credit card just for gas. You could dedicate a credit card just for subscription or whatnot, so that you can have these all categorized already, and then you can set a budget for your team or whoever. Before where you're going through papers and trails and approvals and things like that. So we
Hmm.
minimize all the paperwork and virtualize that, and then what you can do is you can create an account just for your accountants, CPAs, tax, whatever, like read only, so they can log in and see all your transactions, and they can sync that up to QuickBooks and make it very seamless and easy to have a financial picture. Yeah, and then the last thing we do is we just last year or the year before we acquired a company, and what they do, the easiest way I can explain it is like Mint, how Mint.com was for your
Hmm.
personal finances.
Hmm.
Uh, this is what it is for your business finance. So you can see like overall picture, like a nice chart, like where the money flow is going, and visualize that.
I'm familiar with that product, not your product particularly, but
Yeah.
are you familiar with Ramp?
Ramp, yeah, it's very similar. I
Hmm.
believe they're our competitor too. So
Well,
very
we won't talk
similar.
about them then.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's I get exactly what you're doing, because in one of my businesses, we're actually looking at
mm,
trying to find a better expense solution,
mm,
because the way that we're doing it right now is very archaic, where you're the person is filling out a paper form and logging every expense that they did, and some of them
yeah,
have to be job charged or project
yeah.
charged and stuff like that. So we're trying to figure out how we can automate it into our ERP,
Mm,
and actually we're actually looking at a new ERP too. So yeah, we've got some big changes. So we might have to talk offline and see if
yeah.
there's some synergy there. I mean, does your guys' platform roll up into most of the major ERPs, or is it mostly meant for small businesses that use QuickBooks or something like that?
Well, we just partnered with Zero
Hmm.
com.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have other platforms like the other side I forgot to mention is our the bank partners that we have. So, for example, if you go to like maybe Bank of America or Chase or whatever, you have the business bill pay part, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's using our platform in the
Mm-hmm.
background.
Mm-hmm.
They just put their UI, their branding on top of it. So that's the AP side, accounts
Mm-hmm.
payable side. So
Mm-hmm.
so there are a lot of integrations, but our focus is small medium business because that's our kind of our niche. There's other big players that deal with the bigger sized ones. Yeah.
What's considered medium business size?
That's a good question. I can't remember what we go up to, but usually small medium business they find us that it kind of fits their needs. But I don't know what is the market cap for like our, what our customers the medium size what's the market cap for that or what's
Okay.
their size? Yeah.
What's the name of your guys' product?
Our company is called Build.com.
Oh, okay. That's
Oh,
easy.
sorry. We changed our name. It was Bill.com, but now we changed it to just Bill or Bill Operations. So it's kind of awkward when I tell people, "Hey, my name is Bill. I work at Bill." They're like, "Is it your company?" I was like, "Well, no. I wish I'd be retired if it was."
Yeah. How
Yeah.
long ago did you guys start in business?
I think we've been around like 16 years, but I've
Mm,
only been at the company just over five, almost 5.5 now. Time flies.
yeah. Yes, it does. Time does fly.
Yeah.
So now that you guys are scaling up in the cloud, you guys will be able to do a lot more integrations, a lot more things with the app. Do you guys have open APIs and all that stuff to be able to do various things with that stuff?
Yes, we have API connections with our bank partners,
Bank.
and
Mhm.
yeah, so our partners. I don't think we don't have it open to our customers since they're less technical. They're more just like, hey, I need someone to manage, help manage with our finances,
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, we do have APIs for bank partners. I know we worked on the API for the Zero, so to make that integration very seamless.
Hmm.
There's some demos online. I and it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I so small story with my gyms, like
Mhm.
shortly after I was running them, a couple years after I was running them, what I, like I'm a numbers nerd, right? And I'm like
Yeah.
all about reports and like, where are we? What are we doing? Where are we going? And what it used to be was my staff at the end of the night for the closing shift would have to fill out like um, a closing spreadsheet that showed
Mm.
like how many dollars were taken in, how many memberships were sold, how many people canceled, blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah, right? How much was sold out of the cooler, and it just got to be very daunting because it was all they were doing was doing a save as with a new
Mm.
sheet every single day, right? So you're accumulating. Think about that. That's 365 spreadsheets over the course of a
Yeah.
year. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I created this new like workbook where every day was just it was a new row. Each
Mm.
row was a new input for the day.
Oh wow.
And then what it would do is it would it created like a dashboard, right, to show
Mm.
what we did prior day, what are we doing year to date, what did we do against prior year. And so it was really helpful to like accumulate all that data and be able to see what the business was doing. Well, then I wanted
Yeah.
to take it a step further, right? I was like, man, the staff is probably spending, at least an hour a day printing out all of these reports out of the system and then manually inputting them into a spreadsheet. I'm like, I wonder if I could just do a data dump
Uh-huh.
into a database and use Power BI to like
Oh yeah.
visualize
Yeah.
all of this data, right? So I
Yeah.
went on to this task of finding an engineer to be able to help me build this thing out. And I spent thousands of dollars trying to develop this thing. And the cost of the server and the cost of the maintenance of the server, and then the cost of, and I was using
Oh man.
AWS, right?
Oh
I was
god, yeah.
using Azure. I was using
Azure, yeah.
Azure.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so the cost of running that, and then the cost of having the SQL database,
Oh
and then the
man.
cost of an engineer to be able to write all of the code to extract the data out of an API. Because I'll tell you, because I'm sure you understand this, but the
Yeah,
audience
yeah.
probably doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. But what we were doing was we had all of the APIs for all of our different systems, right? So we had our club
Mhm,
management software, we had our CRM, and then
mhm.
we had one other software. What was the other software we were using? I can't remember. But anyways, we were we were using the APIs out of all of those systems. We were making API calls every day, and then it would get pushed into a flat file on Azure. And then
Okay.
from there, it would get moved into Databricks. Are you familiar with Databricks?
No. Is
So
that just a Azure product or mainly
no,
or
it's Databricks is their own product, but
okay.
it's an ETL, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so it would
I know ETL. Yeah.
yeah, so it would extract the data out of the flat file and then
Hmm.
push it into a SQL
Yep.
server, and then
Yep.
from there we connected Power BI to the SQL server to be able to
Okay.
visualize all this stuff. But I'm telling you what, I don't even want to verbalize how much I spent on this project
Oh
over the course of
man.
2 or 3 years. And it would have been so slick. It would have been so slick if I could make it. I could get it to work, but the problem was just the capital to do it. Well, at the same time, somebody else in my industry, in the gym industry,
Uh-huh.
was doing the same exact thing
Okay.
because he was a club owner himself. He didn't he didn't want his staff having to do this manual reporting every day, so he developed this basically the same product.
Yeah.
He built this thing out. He ended up getting it working, and he got a bunch of clubs to buy in, like buy subscriptions for this product.
Oh
And then
wow.
he was I can't remember how many clubs he had. He had a few hundred clubs, I think, utilizing this product. And then he ended up selling it to the major club management software in the industry. They're the largest club management software in the industry.
Uh-huh.
He ended up selling it to them. But I'm just thinking, like, damn it, if I would have just kept pushing through, that could have been me. I could have sold this thing for probably 20 million bucks or
Yeah.
something like that. And but
I feel
yeah,
like you have a background, you can still do it. There's, I mean, I'm sure it's very limited, right? Like like the solution for what the gym's owners are looking for, right? So you could still, I mean, if you wanted to, if you can still pursue it, and it's always good to have a competition because then you kind of build on each other and then
yeah.
make each other better, and also kind of reduces the prices, right, for the consumer or the.
Yeah, it's just the
But
problem was just the cost of the server was just the cost of the
yeah,
server and doing all of the ETL, which is for people who don't know is basically like data
yeah,
extraction,
yep,
right?
extra, yeah,
And processing.
yeah,
Just doing the ETL and the SQL Server runtime, it was like
yeah.
$1,200 a month just for my club,
Oh
right?
wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. Now, I was engineering it wrong. Maybe the guys that I had hired to help me engineering it were engineering it wrong, but that's a lot of money every month just to not do manual reporting.
Yeah, yeah. That's the other thing is like you have to kind of outweigh like the problem with tech is it costs so much right now. Like the starting capital, like you found out, right? And then you're also you're like the trailblazer. So you're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. You're failing and
Hmm.
you're learning.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot.
yeah,
But
yeah. It's
I
it's a
know
fascinating industry, though.
yeah. I'm now we have like AI ChatGPT. That's one thing I'm looking into right now. Because I besides my 9 to 5, I have a STR. And right now we're running it. We have our own management company to run it, but a lot of it is kind of manual. So I've used some PMS, property management software,
Hmm.
to manage it. One of them I use is Hospitable,
Mm-hmm.
And that one has a lot of automation. They use AI for like responses and that, and it connects to our the cleaner that we use. Connects to our locks, right? But the thing is, for my personal or for the business side, the property managed side, um, I have to do bookkeeping. I have to figure out like the finance, just
Mm-hmm.
like you, right, as owner. So I'm trying to figure out how to use AI, use ChatGPT to help me with that. So one of the things I'm doing this month is documenting all my processes, because eventually next month I want to hire a VA to help me with some of these things. And once I document, put it into AI, see if I can do something with it. I don't know. I'm still playing around thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know where I want to go with this. And also like we're looking into buying like a boutique hotel near the end of the year because I'm in Rich's other mastermind for the boutique hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues we're having is we can't underwrite fast enough. So I'm trying to figure out how I can take the spreadsheet that we have, um, and take the offer memorandum and take that and input it into ChatGPT and have it extract some of the numbers that they have,
Mm.
their revenue, their expenses, and just automatically put it into the spreadsheet, and then gives us a quick dump of like, okay, this seems like a good deal, and here are the numbers. And now, of course, we'll do checking because right now, ChatGPT, although it's amazing, but from what I've heard is if you compare it to like human brains, it's like 13 people right now. That's how powerful it is, or how not powerful, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because a friend of mine was actually kind of complaining about ChatGPT and saying it's dumb. And so the only reason, but he was a math major, but the only reason that
Mm,
he thought it was dumb is because ChatGPT couldn't do basic math. But it's a
mm,
language model, right? It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
really meant for, which is kind of counterintuitive when you think about it. It's coming from a
yeah,
computer, but I think that's getting better, the math portion of
yeah,
ChatGPT, but it's mostly just a language model, you know.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that would be really cool if that's kind of got my brain thinking of like, you know, I mean, kind of like what you just said, you end up spending so much time sometimes
Hmm.
underwriting a deal. I
Hmm.
wonder if you could just like, at least for like for me, like the multifamily side, right?
Yeah,
Upload the T12, upload the rent
yeah,
roll into Chat GPT and be like, hey, chat, what do you think of this deal? And
yeah,
where's it got to hit to be able to get X amount, X returns, right? You
yeah.
could probably do the same thing with short term rental or boutique hotels. Is that what you're kind of trying to do?
Yeah, and that's what I'm playing around with because it really depends on what you tell it, right? So, for example, last week or the week before, I was trying to figure out a formula, and I kind of Google and did the formula, but it was giving me errors. So I was like, all right, let me ask ChatGPT. So I uploaded Excel file and I gave the formula that was giving an error. I was like, hey, can you help me figure out why this is giving an error? So just on based on that, um, it came out with another formula. I was like, okay, and I put it in, it's still erroring out. So then I thought back to what people said, like in order to get the most out of ChatGPT, you really have to tell it like step by step what you're looking for and what
Mm,
it should look for. And then once you do that, it gives you, and then it's really, really good at giving you the right answer. So example for that formula, what I did, I was like, okay, let me like break it down like Barney style. So I started saying, what I was trying to get is I had a spreadsheet with two tabs. The first tab was like an overview of all the like expenses and things like that. And one of the field was, I was doing, I was trying to calculate depreciation,
mm,
depending on the year and month you put the asset. into put the asset, make the asset active, right?
Hmm.
Live. And so one field was year one. The other field was month one or month 1 to 12, and year one to I think it was like 39 or whatever the depreciation. And then the second tab was the depreciation. Year one, so the first row, it was year one, and then the column was month 1 to 12. And then the second row was year two to like 27 or something like that. And then for each box, so year one, month one, there's a percentage that you can use to calculate the depreciation, and then year month two, so on and so forth. And then they were kind of different, right, in each box. So I literally broke it down. I was like, okay, um, tab two, or you for these box, what does it mean? So I literally told it what I just told you, like, column one, row one is this, column two, whatever. So, and then from that, I took it even further. I was like, okay, let me give you an example what is correct. So I say if tab one's box one says year one and it's month like three, then you want to look in, like, for example, C4 or something on sheet two, and
Hmm.
this is the number you should get. So I gave it like two examples, and then it goes, okay, I think I understand. And then it's output. So it output the formula and explained it, how it got it, and it was still slightly off because it was like one column off. I was like, no, no. So January month one starts in column two because the header is on column one. So
Mm.
then it was like, oh, okay, I understand. And then I was like, okay, if you understand, and I was like, give me a couple answers. I was like, if it is year three and is month 10, what is the value? If it's year one and month 7, what is the value? Just to double check that it understand, and it
Yeah.
got it right. And then it outputted the formula, and I put it in, and the formula worked. And I double checked it, so I
Wow.
input every different number I could think of, and it was grabbing the right number. So so you can figure out, like, you could actually build that into ChatGPT. They call it I forgot what they call it, but there's a way you could build these models, so that you can use that going forward,
Okay.
so that you don't have to rebuild this thing now. And there's also a memory feature on it now,
Yep.
that you have to turn on, right? So
Yep.
because of that, I could, like, 2 weeks from now, I could go back and ask it the same thing, and I
Yep.
don't have to repeat all of that, right? So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
I use it for a lot of my marketing, right? If I'm
mm,
trying to, I'll use ChatGPT and be like, hey, take the transcript from this podcast and give me a show description that I can upload onto, YouTube and Spotify.
yeah,
Boom. 5 seconds later, it spits the whole thing out and it's like crisp, it's clean,
yeah.
it gives a great description. And then what I'll do is I'll say, okay, now take that same and like you said, I might do this a few days later, and I'm like, okay, take that same show description and condense it for an email marketing blast for all of my contacts to
Mm,
announce that the new show is coming out.
nice.
Boom, spits it out. I just copy him. I mean, it's such a great tool,
Yeah.
But like you said, you have to prompt it.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
pr- you have to prompt it right in order for it to give you exactly what you're looking for. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and it's crazy to think about what it's going to be like in the next 5 to 10 years, because from what I
yeah.
understand is I think it's from what I've read, I think fourth quarter of 25 is when OpenAI is going to release ChatGPT
Hmm.
5, and that's supposed to be like to the magnitude of like something like 10,000 times bigger and faster than ChatGPT
Man.
4. Yeah.
It's crazy because they're also using the data that we're inputting, right? So
Hmm.
so and using to learn, and so the more, and so many, it's so popular right now. They have this probably billions and billions of data points now that you can
Hmm.
use, and so it's only, like you said, it's only going to get faster and faster. Um, like there was another, there was a AI summit I went to a couple weeks ago. They were saying like by the end of like 2026, like we're gonna be like very different. And that's another thing I'm like worried about. And that's kind of what I'm why I'm going to real estate and not just staying in my W-2 is like down the line, AI, we have robots, right? A lot of
Hmm.
the jobs that we have now are eventually going to disappear. And then
Hmm.
what now, right? I feel like the government, I don't want to go too much into politics, but like
Let's
our
do it.
government, I feel like our government needs to start thinking about this. And they are in a sense because I was listening to an interview with Mark Zuckerberg, him and Elon and a bunch of people in
Hmm.
tech who are dealing with
Hmm.
AI. They went to the Congress or Senate, I forget who,
Yeah.
but anyway, somewhere in the government, they invited them to a discussion, and
Yep.
they were surprised that they weren't like, "Oh, you guys go into it." They were like more listening and trying to understand like how AI is going to affect things. So I
Hmm.
think that's a good start, but you know how government they're very slow in
Yep.
things. I and AI is going to be so fast that I don't think they're going to
Hmm.
be able to catch up or unless they do start now, right? So,
Well, I mean, look at what chat can do just in terms of coding, right?
yep,
You could tell it, "Hey, chat, I don't know, I need a JavaScript code for X, Y, and Z.
yep,
I need a Python code for whatever," and it will just spit
yeah,
it out based on what your need is. It's
yeah,
so if you're a programmer, I feel like I would be worried, right?
yeah,
Because most of this AI is going to do this for them.
yeah. We actually so we started last year. We started this pilot, and now we're having more and more engineers do this. But GitHub
Hmm.
has a tool called I think it's called Copilot. Copilot,
Yep.
yeah, Copilot. So I haven't messed around with it, but I added to our I use PyCharm. Some people use video uh, 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 VS Visual Studio, Visual
Yep.
Basic, yeah,
Yeah.
Visual Studio to do coding. So it have integration with that, and you just add that, and you could tell like oh hey, can you check this code and help rewrite it or whatever, make it better, or even like I'm stuck, I'm not sure how to do this, like you said, right? Man, it's like in a few years.
Yeah.
Even like I said, that's why I'm trying to go to other like revenue income streams and
Hmm.
like even the construction, right? They have I saw last month or a couple months ago, they have robots are doing roofing. Like roofing is a hard labor. You figure like you can't get robots to do that, right? Nope. They're gonna figure it out, especially with our labor so cost so high, especially like
Hmm.
California, US, compared to like other countries where they could get labor very cheap, right?
Have you
It's crazy.
have you seen the videos of Boston Dynamics
Oh
robots
my,
that they've
the
created?
Atlas 2. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, Atlas 2. It was freaky the way they had it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's wild. It's wild what they're and they actually recently posted like because they've been working on this whole program for I want to say like 15 years because they
Yeah.
posted the first video of the first robot they built and how like
Yep.
it could barely walk and it
Yep.
was
Yep.
falling over. And then the next stage was it was able to walk. And
Yeah.
then they would like test it by like kicking it to see if it would,
Yeah.
keep its balance. And then they, I mean, just the evolution of this whole program.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bill, this is literally how the Terminator and Matrix started, right? You would think that we would learn from Hollywood how this is a bad thing.
I mean, a lot of the Hollywood stuff, like, like from Star Trek and Star Wars or whatever, like they're coming true as
Yeah.
technology progress,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, like humans are really, really interesting, right? We're amazing. Like the way, like, I don't know if whoever believes, like I'm Christian, but whatever your belief is, like I feel like there's got to be some higher power. There's like the way
Mhm.
we're designed and we imagine it and we can make it possible kind of thing,
Mhm.
right? It's
Mhm.
it's crazy how. Yeah, I, I don't even want to think about like our next generation, how much
I
change it's going
know.
to be.
I know. I
But
mean, I know the big thing now with school, just with education and schooling is, a lot of these kids are using AI to
yeah,
do all of their homework and reports for them, and
yeah,
now there's because I know a lot of times there's if a paper is written by AI, it's somewhat watermarked, right? But now there's programs that'll wipe the watermark so you can't even tell that it was written by AI.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, another worry is like you can use it for good or evil kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And hopefully, like I see all of this as a tool to better the society, right? How can we use it to better the society? But then there's
Hmm.
people who are using it for like, I just want to make money and F everybody else kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with you being in California, I know you keep kind of reiterating how you're trying to use real estate to not only help with your not getting rid of, but supplementing your W-2 income, but you're also using it as a tax benefit as well.
Yes, yes. So, working for my company, we IPO a couple years ago, and and then we got hit with like a big tax bill because I was like selling, and our stock rise significantly. So I was selling, and then my mistake was not moving fast enough and not listening to a lot of people, getting a CPA, and figuring out how to use the short-term rental loophole or the STR loophole. And then to kind of go over what the STR loophole is it's essentially what the government allows you, or IRS allows you to um, offset using depreciation, bonus depreciation, using a cost seg to, create a study so you know how much depreciation you can use. And a few years ago, because I think it was the Jobs Act that allowed
Hmm.
bonus depreciation, so instead of
Hmm.
waiting, 3, 5, 20, whatever years, you condense that into the first year, right, when you purchase it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it was 100%. You could go and do bonus depreciation. Then it was 80. This year is 60, and then 40 next year. Eventually, it'll go away, right? So going back to what I was saying, I wasn't moving fast enough. I was uh, enjoying the life that the IPO brought, and yeah, and not really thinking about that the tax implication. The first year, the tax bill, I was like, oh, okay, it's high, but it was manageable. But then the second year, because our stock shot up to like $300 a share, right? Well, every tech stock in like 2021, early 2022 was like crazy. Like it was like, why? It made no sense, right? So that year then I started getting serious. In August, I got a CPA. She told me about the loophole, um, and and then waited too long to start looking for a property. So when I say
Mm.
I rushed everything, this is where I made all my mistakes. Um, I started looking November of 2022 for a property to buy, and I'm in Northern California, so I went to Tahoe to look. We
Mhm.
actually found a property, but I didn't really do a lot of the research. I vaguely did some research. I the house that we were going to buy, they were already using for Airbnb. So we looked at their numbers. They were doing really well. And then we kind of gave some conservative numbers for the following year. So I was like, oh, the numbers still make sense. And then that time they recently passed short-term rental regulation. So it was kind of, I think it was like a year or early that year that they had it. So a lot of people that had a short-term rental, they were grandfathered in, and then they
Mm.
got the permits. But because I'm purchasing it and it doesn't transfer, so unfortunately, um, the new regulation, which I didn't find out until literally the week um, of closing, um, it was if another property has a permit that's within 300 feet of your property, you're not getting a permit at
Oh
all.
my gosh.
Yeah, and then so I was like, the week leading up to closing, I was like, fudge. So I started doing a lot of research, calling people, right? And the week of closing, I finally was able to find the website that shows you like what permits are there, and there was three properties with permits within 300 feet or 500, 300 or 500. I can't remember now. And they were all grandfathered in. So I was like, fudge, there is no way. Like, we're gonna buy this property. I'm not even gonna be put it on an Airbnb or whatnot.
Mm.
So we had to cancel. We lost $25,000 in earnest money. Yeah, that sucked. My wife was pretty pissed. Let's just say. Um, so that was like I was like bummed. I was like, all right, we still need to get this done. And so we started looking other places. That's where we went down to Big Bear because it was a similar market. We want to stay in California at the we weren't ready to go out of state. And just something close enough where we can check it out and if needed. So Big Bear, that didn't, we found, I think we were looking, and we didn't close until we were supposed to close in February, but because they had a big snowstorm that year, we didn't close until March. We actually didn't even do our walkthrough. We had to do a virtual because they were snowed in and we couldn't go up if you weren't a resident. And luckily, it was a relatively new building. Yeah, they built it in 2016.
Mm.
So we were like, okay, there's most likely not many major issues. And based on the videos, and we did do a walkthrough initially when we took a look back in like January, I think it was. But yeah, so that kind of pushed everything a couple months back. So we couldn't use it for 2022, which I knew we were going to get a huge tax bill. Um, and also it sucked because 2023 is only 80% bonus depreciation. So like, yeah, then I went down this like bad mental, like, oh, I messed up doing this now. And then
Hmm.
I knew we were going to have a big tax bill. So we delayed the our tax filing and pushed it till October. So I was thinking like, all right, let me use that time to get this property up, um, and at least get some cash flow. But at that same time, this is when we were migrating. I was talking about my W-2. We were migrating all of our data center. So we had a
Mm.
big project. So literally, I had no time to even think about that. I was like so exhausted after work mentally. I just didn't do anything with that. And for like 6 months, I think from from March until about September, about September, August, September, 6 months, we were just burning cash. Our mortgage was like $6,000.
Jeez.
So yeah, $6,000. That was like what, 6 times 6? That's like 36 grand. 36 grand plus 25K. Like this is the wrong way to do. Don't do what I'm doing. Oh man. So like that, then I finally we need to get this. I was like, we have to get this up before the end of 2023 or like we're effed. Um, and permit takes like at least 2 months. So I got the permitting. It was like December 5th. We got the permit.
Wow.
December 5th. Wow. Yeah. And then we listed, I think it was December 18th. I knew I had to do it right before Christmas because that's where all the revenue was, right?
Mm.
Where you make the money. So our first like month was good. I think we got like, 7,500 for the first month.
So you at least
But
covered your nut every month. or that
At
month.
least the 1 month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine, plus all the expenses. I mean, well, minus all the expenses, right, that we accumulated.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could write that, of course, all the expenses, but still, you had to come out of pocket. Like I could have deployed that money into other assets, right? I could have bought another property with
Sure.
that instead of just sitting around letting it like burn. Literally, like I think it would have been more fun if I just took all of that cash, sat at home, and made a bonfire out of it instead of like, right? It would have been
Yeah.
more fun. At least I had something to enjoy and look at, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so March, that's when like everything hit, right? Because I'm sorry, taking a step back, October, when we finally got our taxes back filed for 2022, it was like close to 200K of that tax bill, which would have been
Wow.
offset. Yeah, it would have been offset. We would have probably gotten a refund because, like I said, our tax, our stock went from like 20 to 300 in like a year and a half or
Hold
so.
on. Hold on. I gotta understand this. So hold on. Okay. So you go to work for this company and they give you
Oh yeah,
options, right? So
correct.
they
Stock
give you
option.
stock options, and which happens all the time, right? So this might benefit somebody that's listening that has a similar situation.
Yeah,
So they give you stock options,
yeah,
and the idea behind the stock options are, if it goes public or whatever, those stock options are going to turn into actual stock,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But the way that the IRS views that is that's a capital event, right?
yep, yep,
So the minute those stock options turn into actual stock certificates, that is now a gain on your tax return. Am I
yeah.
correct?
Yeah, so the way it works, and there are two kinds of stock options or stocks they can issue. When the company have an IPO and they're still in startup, they're not listed on IPO,
Mm-hmm.
initial public offering, so they get listed on the stock market. Before that, you get issue stock options. And then
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, you get issue like it's called RSU, restricted stock
Units.
units. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only after you IPO and you're new, right? Or they want to give you more because you're doing well. And with stock options, so I didn't really understand how all of this worked until it happened to me because like you're and most probably the viewers are like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. How the heck do you like all these people become billionaire when they IPO or listed on stock market? It's because though when you have your company as a startup, you can issue stocks, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
say, I want to have a million shares at like a penny each, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
own 100%. And as you bring founders or whoever, you can give them a percentage of that. So now let's say my stock, I got like I forget, oh, well, for numbers purpose, just to make things simple, let's say I got 1,000 shares at $1 each.
Mm-hmm.
So and if I want to own all of that, I just pay $10,000 at a dollar each, and then now
Mm-hmm.
I own 10,000 shares
Mm-hmm.
worth $10,000. Now, when the company IPOs, they set a list price, let's just say $20. So
Mm-hmm.
now your value you just gain $19 in value per
Mm-hmm.
per share.
Mm-hmm.
So now 19 times 10,000, now instead of the stock worth 10,000, it's now worth so 19 times 10 is 190K, if
Yep.
I'm doing
Yep.
my math
Yep.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you just gain that much equity and value, right?
Yep.
Now, the time when the IRS tax you is when you sell it.
Mm.
So if you sell it within a year, uh, it's taxed as short term, and that's a high tax bracket. If you sell it over a year, then after a year, then that you hold it, then it's taxed at a lower tax
Like
capital
capital gain
gains.
is it capital
Yeah,
gains tax.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's like 15 or
Yeah.
20%. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is at now.
Yep.
So I sold a lot of it short term because I was like, oh, we were slowly going up. So I'm like, I'm the person where like, let me just capture it because if it goes down, then like, then it's gone. Then
Yep.
so I bought it even though like I could have waited till like it hit like whatever the highest, and but you never know, right? So I just every time we were allowed to sell it, I sold it. So that's why that year, although on paper it looks like I made a crap ton of money, but
Mm,
realistically, most of it were going to be paid in taxes. So I did save a good amount. So, but not enough because I kind of miscalculated a bit. So this is why I like go get a good CPA, CPA that knows tax law, right?
sure, sure.
So yeah, yeah,
So then your idea was, okay, let's get into the short-term rental space because we can use
mm,
the depreciation to offset
yep,
that tax liability.
yep,
Um, and then you had that whole issue, right?
yeah.
Um, now 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 that you've gone through that and you're almost excuse me, you're 9 months or so of actually having the short-term rental on Airbnb. Are you seeing some good progress now? Are you trending the
It's
right way?
no, it's this is where like yeah, I went down the spiral, right? December, January, February was good because they got snow. I think the last time it had snow was like almost March.
Hmm.
But and then March kind of tapered off, and then I think April definitely was pretty bad, and then May I think we didn't really have any bookings, maybe one, and then June was also I think we didn't have anything in June. I don't think we did. So now we're like still burning cash, but and it was frustrating because like even though we were using pretty conservative numbers, because we know that COVID with people traveling during that time
Hmm.
and STR everything was crazy, right? It was not a good number to use. But even with being conservative, we were way off.
Mm,
So yeah, that's it was very taxing on our my relationship with my wife.
mm,
Of course, like we're just burning, and then we're like blaming each other, and then I was like self-doubt, and then being in like the mastermind, I was seeing other people who was in a similar situation as me, but did the right way, and
mm.
they had like 4 or 5 properties. They're now like quitting their W-2, and I was like, I that could have been me. Regrets and
Yeah,
self-doubt, and I
yeah.
went down this really, really dark path where like I was just about to give up on life. Like it was
Mm,
bad, bad. Um, and it wasn't until like about 2 months ago I started listening to like um like like mindset, like how to change your mindset. Like a lot of this is like it doesn't take a lot of action from you, but most of it is just being in the right mindset. It's some people you can call it optimism, but it's like optimism, but with like a plan and action and yeah behind it. Whereas I feel
sure.
like optimism, with some people say, "Oh, I'm optimistic." It's more just like I'm being feeling happy, and then that's it. Kind of that's where it
Yeah.
stops, right?
Yep.
Whereas changing your mindset is like, okay, reframing. So I've been reframed. It's like, okay, instead of like regret, now I'm not. I don't feel like I'm providing for my wife, for my family, and I hired a coach, mindset coach, Jason Drees coaching, and he was like, "All right, let's reframe that. What makes you feel? Uh, uh, what actions will make you feel you're providing, right? So instead of saying I can't provide, or okay, what can I do to provide, right? Uh, I thought about well, I need to make sure I'm working and putting effort in my work because at that time also I was so depressed and demotivated. I was just doing just barely enough to not get fired.
Mm,
But like after that, after work, I was just like drinking, like trying to like smoking and everything just to like suppress those feelings, right?
sure.
But yeah, so we went through this exercise with the coach, and he said, okay, um, I feel I'm providing. I experience providing for my family when I'm working, and then he's like, all right, let's come up with a couple other ones, and then we went through. I was like thinking, well, in order to do the real estate, I need uh, to be in the same group, network with those people, learning from them. So the next one came up with was networking with like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
So I experience providing for my family when I'm working or when I'm networking with like-minded people. And the last one, he was like, all right, let's do one last one. And I was like, what is the most impact right now and that we're like not clear about and why why wife and I are fighting? It was like finances. Okay, so the last one was um, have a clear view of our personal and business finance. So we came up with that, and then I talked to my wife. We discussed it because at that time also she took another job, that a
Mm.
higher paying job, and she was also uh, working her old job too because they were short staffed. So she was working double, and she was working like pretty much 14 days straight. Then she would have 2 days because um, um, on the off days she would work at the other company, at the
Mm.
other job. She's a
Mm-hmm.
nurse. So that's why she was working 14 days and then off 2 days, and I felt so bad and for that. And that's when that what really helped was like talking to her about that, and she said, "Hey, I don't understand what you're doing. I know you're trying to do like this, but I don't understand. Um, so let me focus on providing for us for now because like the job is not too difficult. Like it took her about a month or so to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, it's not that hard. Like, yeah, I'm working a lot, but it's like more like 9 to 5 kind of range. She's not
Mm.
working at a hospital, so she's not doing like 12 hours, 14-hour shifts. So it's manageable. And so that plus the coaching lift the burden off of me. And I was like, all
Mm.
right, let me just focus, put all my energy on like figuring out how to get out of this debt, how to get out of the W-2. And that's when everything just started clicking. Like I've been getting like maybe like recently I've been I'm slowing down just a little bit because I could feel my body getting really really exhausted. But
Yeah.
like before I was like getting maybe 3 4 hours sleep at night, and I worked nine to five then, and I just cleared out my whiteboard, but I had a list like full whiteboard of shit I had to do. Sorry, crap I had to do for
No, you
that
could
the
cuss.
for the past like year, and then I just started going down that. I was like, I got it. So in order to make sure to get clear view of our finances, I had to do bookkeeping. I was a year behind in bookkeeping, and then we extended our taxes this year again because we were waiting for the bonus depreciation to come
Yeah.
back, but it didn't happen. So I had to do the bookkeeping so I could get all our taxes done and send it to our tax accountant, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I got that done. Then I was like, in the other mastermind, getting all the things ready for the podcast, right? Figuring that out, doing research. Yeah, and ever since it's just been on fire. Like I want to, like my body's tired, but my mind is like, I want to keep going. Just
That's
go, go, go. Yeah.
that's
So
awesome, Bill. Man, I love that story because that right there is the epitome not only of entrepreneurship, right? But man, that's like the whole thing behind this podcast. Why I call it raw and relentless.
yeah,
It's people like you that are willing to be vulnerable. Come on here, be vulnerable, talk about your hardships, talk about overcoming the hardships, talking about, hey, I was depressed, I was
yeah,
my relationship was suffering, but I
yeah,
just kept pushing forward. I mean,
yeah.
that's awesome. So
Uh,
what's next? I know we're kind of running short on time, so
yeah,
I want to make sure that you get the rest of your story. So where are you going? Where are you headed?
yeah. So now, 9 to 5 now. I'm reading the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. So I'm
Hmm.
using a lot of that to apply to my business. So this is where we're talking about earlier, documenting everything, hiring a
Hmm.
VA.
Hmm.
And I'm also applying that to my managing my team. So I'm thinking myself as the CEO of my team,
Mm.
and they're like the managers of
Hmm.
themselves.
Yep.
So I'm very hands-on and very I want to do things my own, but like learning to let go and let other people who are better than you do that, do the work, and just
Hmm.
kind of more now I'm on like coaching them, like making
That's
sure,
awesome.
yeah. So that's kind of where I'm going. So eventually, hopefully, we'll see end of this year, maybe next year, be able to get my business going, buy a boutique hotel, get that going, and then be able to quit my W-2. Yeah.
Have you ever read the book Who Not How?
Yes, yes. I read
Yeah.
it, but I didn't really apply it. But now I'm really applying it on my part.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great, man. Man, that is awesome. And so now your goal is a boutique hotel in California still?
Not sure. So our buy box is like coastal, somewhere
Mm.
where tourism, regardless of how the economy is,
Yeah.
people will still go even if it's local. So something that we can do force appreciation that's been run down and build the equity and appreciation through that.
Okay. Awesome. Bill,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on. I love your story and I'm excited to
Yeah.
see where you go. I
Yeah.
want to have you again. I want to have you on again next year so we could see how
Oh
much
yeah.
you've grown in a year's time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. It's been
Of
fun.
course, anytime, buddy. And then where
Yeah.
can everybody reach you if they're trying to get a hold of you or if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, I'm on pretty much every social, Instagram mainly right now. I am on Twitter, but I haven't really posted much, TikTok. But my next thing is getting my YouTube. Like I'm want to start my podcast too, so hopefully have you there
Yeah,
in
man.
one of the episodes. But my handle is aspired with the D, Bill Key. So Aspired, Bill Key, and then my last name Key is spelled Ke. So Aspire
Awesome.
Bill Key.
All right,
Cool.
everybody, go check Bill
Yeah.
out. Bill, thanks for coming on, and we'll be in touch.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for having me. Take
Thanks,
care.
buddy. Bye.
Bye.